Nora Sosa, and this is our guest for today. Her name is Mindy Corrado
Hello.
Rodriguez. This is actually my cousin.
Can you tell?
We are from the same class. Okay, so we wanted to just give a heads up. Today's topic is actually gonna be a very how would you say a very real talk.
Real
Like
talk, very sour and
it can be sour, it can be real, it can be. It's a topic that many people are afraid to talk about.
very hesitant.
It's a topic that can be taboo in some families or in some situations. So we're going to talk about my cousin's story and her journey as a young woman and as a young mom.
Teen mom.
She was a teen mom. She
Teen
is a teen
parent. Teen
mom.
parent in general, because it can happen to
Yes,
anybody.
anybody. So I'm gonna actually let her take the role, introduce herself a little bit more, and tell us who she is and what she's all about.
Hi. Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Really don't do much nowadays. But I come from a very, very strict family, as you know. I mean, what I can say, very cultural, very unique, you know. And so very strict, like I said. But as she mentioned, there's a lot of what you call now in taboo, which is you call normal nowadays. What is taboo
Taboo. Okay, so
nowadays?
taboo is actually something that happens, but people don't really talk about it. So it's labeled as taboo. I say taboo because um, being a teen parent or a teenage mom is something that a lot of people in society frown upon.
Mhm.
And they always tend to victim blame or just pretty much throw the teen mom to the like
Under the bus.
under the bus because there's always something to negative to say. Oh, okay, like what were you doing? Or why did you let it happen? Or why did you agree to this? And the reason why I reached out to you was because this podcast is about women empowerment and like positive. It's a positive movement, a positive platform where um, we don't know what teen moms go through, but we have a guest here who experienced it firsthand. And not every teen mom's story is how hers played out.
Everybody has a different story. It could be similar to mine, or it could be, very different, very.
It could be worse. It could
Yes,
be.
definitely, very
It
much.
could be. There's many things that it could be that lead up to a teen pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I find it that growing up in the family, we all had our own character as
Yes.
cousins. Like every Sunday, us
We
like
were seeing
it
each
was
other.
like a family tradition, I guess, where all the cousins would get together at your dad's house.
My house.
And we would always, all the cousins would be looking forward to it. Like, oh, we're
Yes,
gonna
they
go
wanna
over, we're gonna
play.
go play, we're gonna go to the park. Like we would just venture out.
Very,
We were
very
kind of
united. Very,
we are. I was gonna say we are, even though we're not
yeah.
as close because everyone kind of went.
Distance lives separately.
Yeah, I know. We have family that moved to Utah. Some family went to Arizona.
Yes.
Some was in Oregon now. Hector and Lexi and the kids. But
But
at the end of the day, we're all family. We all love each other, and every family has its ups and downs.
ups and downs. I'm pretty sure, there is, like I said, taboo.
Taboo. But
And
yeah.
so
So yeah.
with me, it was like more like, we kept into the family so much that, sometimes you don't know how close of a family you really are until something
Yeah,
happens.
and that's the thing too. That's one of the reasons why I felt it was important to kind of have you on the podcast, and I told you. And we had a conversation where we were like, now that we're older and we're mature and we're able to talk about what was happening with us at that time,
Our
like I
mental
said,
state of mind was, if I think about all the stuff I used to think or observe, everything going on in my surroundings, now I'm just like, whoa, that's a lot.
it is. It is. And it's like we're not bashing our family. Like we love our family. All we
Yes,
love all our family.
but
And our parents, honestly, they sacrificed a lot to give us everything we have today.
yes,
And
everything. Till
we
this day, till
to
this
this
day.
day, like I feel like I know for a fact my dad, he never stops. He's always
Yeah,
on the roll. I know your dad, like
he's
he's
always
always
doing
making
something for
sure
me.
like our parents in our family, it's like our parents, we are the pride and joy of our parents.
Right? The children
And
always,
and even yeah, that's true. We're their babies no matter what. And
no
sometimes
matter how old.
and
I'm
sometimes
talking about old.
sometimes that can lead to a very like confrontational situation for the females in our family.
Very much indeed.
Like from
I
my
want to date, but I can't because I don't know when is the right
like
time.
when you were saying like our family is very strict, like the girls in our family,
Get married till they're like 40.
we could in a sense I kind of think yeah that's true, but not anymore. We're breaking
We're
that.
breaking that tradition now. It's over.
um our parents are strict in the sense that the girls were not really allowed to do anything unless the guy cousins were there
For the
and or the
brothers.
brothers. Like we it's a very old school tradition. Traditional, not
Which I
tradition.
appreciate now.
Yes, now we appreciate it, but
It
back
has
then it was just
protection.
like it was kind of that sense of like that double
I'm
standard.
never gonna like nobody. I'm never gonna have a boyfriend. I'm never gonna get married.
In a sense, that's how it felt because our parents were so strict.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So back to the conversation, to what we were talking about. I know you're nervous.
It's like, yeah, nobody really wants to be out here like, hey, this is
Yeah, nobody
well,
likes to talk about, nobody really wants to put their business out
out
there.
there.
You know,
Yes.
it's very nerve wracking because you're opening yourself to be judged and you're opening yourself
To be
to be labeled
fragile
or
or
yeah.
criticized.
And it's like, it's really hard when people don't take the time to understand that we're not just women, we're people and we go through things that sometimes because we in families everything is hush hush and strict, we lose our voice and it's not intentional, but it happens.
It happens because like everybody knows this, everybody in some type of way or form creates a fear in something.
Yeah. And I understand, like I like when you say fear, like I can say that I understand that because when you were pregnant, okay, you were 14 years old.
Yes,
You were 14 years old when you got pregnant.
I got pregnant, and it was a horrible moment of my life. As I think before you're out of high school, any person that gets pregnant is in deep shit. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you can cuss. They're allowed.
But
But yeah, okay. So you were 14 when this happened to you. And I know a
so
lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, 14 años, 14 years old, you're just a
shoes,
child.
yeah.
And I just want everyone to understand, like everyone's circumstance is different. In your
Everybody's.
case, I feel like it was more difficult and more
It's kind of
traumatic
yes, difficult to
because
live by every single day.
because everyone is expecting, oh, but you looked for it. And in your situation, it was
And
non-consensual.
no, no. And I'm gonna tell you guys, if you guys are 14-year-old girls or guys, because I've heard multiple cases of young teen men getting seduced by old women, and that's still you know honestly to me that's not normal. You know.
It's not normal. It's very that's what you call a pedophile and you call invasive and it's rape
Yeah. And
in a sense
no
like
matter if she's beautiful and she in her state of mind, she should know that's not right. You know.
mhm.
And so it creates all these emotions for the teenager as well, and the teenager creates this you know, lust, love, you
A
know,
teenager is not fully equipped to process
or think right or
things
know.
like an adult.
Yes.
And I feel the reason why I felt like in my heart that this topic was something I wanted to talk about, and I reached out and I'm like, hey, Mindy, how do you feel about talking about your journey? I felt like it's no pressure. Like you can say no, but I was so happy when you said yes because honestly, I feel you deserve the platform to have your voice and be heard and talk about what happened, how it made you
Yeah.
feel, and it is a traumatic experience. You were a 14-year-old girl
Like
who was obligated, in a sense, to experience something that you did not want to experience, but you were forced.
basically, yeah, especially when I want to get out of the situation a little bit. Like I can't really get out of pregnancy unless I choose to, right? And the process to me was so terrifying. Like no other guys, like I'm telling you.
Yeah,
It
and like
was the
the
scariest
thing
thing.
too, it's like it was a child having a child, and
I didn't even have my full boobs yet. Like
you were a baby.
like
And okay,
my
from
body
what
was
I
still growing.
remember, when all of this was happening, um, we were we were all shocked, all the cousins. And because, like I said earlier, we all had our carácter, you were known as Crazy Mindy.
Oh yeah,
Always
I
getting
was
wild and doing
loud.
stuff.
I'm still loud, guys. I
And
was
like
loud.
it sucks because like as kids we didn't understand, we didn't fully understand, and the whole situation was very hush hush.
Mhm.
I remember when we were like, well, who's the dad? Like we didn't even have the courage to ask you.
I was like,
I know.
I'm the Virgin Mary.
And it was a very difficult thing because it's like we didn't know how to ask, and we didn't you didn't
I don't know
have.
how to. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to be. I didn't know what to think. Like I would think sometimes you guys would come to sense and notice that my belly was growing, and you guys wouldn't ask no more.
Well, okay, when your belly was growing, honestly, I was just like, oh, it's the hot
She's
Cheetos and
getting
soda. Because every time we
guys
were over, we were eating hot Cheetos
and pupusa.
and pupusas, and we were just like, really, you gotta chill with the pupusa.
Yeah, I was
But
eating
we didn't
guys.
know. We were kids, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'm literally 1 year younger than you in a few
Yes. And
days.
we would celebrate our birthdays together.
Together, I have
Our
pictures of
cakes are
that.
together.
Yes, I remember that. And when all of this was happening, like just us as cousins thinking these things, like wondering,
How it
we did
happened.
not have the maturity to put into perspective how you felt, what you were going through.
And you know what? Now that I think about it, I didn't even think about telling you guys. I was just going through so much that it was the last thing for me to be telling people,
Yeah.
hey, I'm pregnant. Guys, I'm pregnant. Like that was like
I'm not gonna lie,
big.
but I remember when it all came out and
We went camping,
it was
remember?
kind of obvious and we all found out like you were pregnant. It's
Yeah.
confirmed you're
It's like
pregnant.
I didn't have to tell them ever, and I am so grateful,
And
guys.
I think
You
the
guys did not
way I
ask.
remember finding out, or we were starting to think, it was like we always played around. We were cousins. Like we were like not just cousins, but we were like brothers and sisters in a sense
Yes.
because we were around each other
Like
every weekend.
like our dads and they grew up together in the same house, as
In El
cousins,
Salvador.
but brothers too.
So when we would get together, we would go camping. We would rough play, throw each other off the fucking rock.
We had our usual holidays
I
and our
remember one
usual
of the cousins coming kind of freaked out. Is like, Mindy's belly felt really hard.
yeah.
And he was freaked out. I'm not gonna
We
mention
had a
names.
we had a cousin that he was such a fool, guys, and he was always messing around and tickling us and making us laugh. So I guess he was the one that would touch me the most. I guess. So
Yeah, and then it was like not like touch like that, you guys.
yeah, but
But
just
like
like
when we
just
were
be
like
like
playing around, it was like bugging each
like
other. We
bugging
had
each
that
other.
friendship. We were just all very close. And when he felt it, he felt freaked out because he's
Yeah.
like, "That's weird."
Like, oh, it's something weird.
He got freaked out, and then he comes and tells us, and then we were just like wondering, like, is she? Did she?
And I was kind of like, don't even think about it.
You know, and it's like, how nerve wracking was it when the whole family found out you were pregnant and you realized that?
You know what? I ain't gonna lie. I think, honestly, not all the family knows still.
No, but when they found out,
My media does. Not like everybody. Like
no, I mean, like, how did you feel when it came out and the cousins knew you were pregnant? It was
it.
like, how did you feel, honestly?
I felt horrible. I felt in the spotlight. I felt like I knew what they were talking about me. I knew my cousins didn't talk about me like bad stuff, you know. They will always be like, "Oh my God, can I touch your belly?" You know.
I remember there was a time when we're like, Mindy, what do you want to eat? Everybody was spoiling you with snacks.
They were always so sweet to me. But the adults was the hardest part of my life. It was so hard. They were really like they didn't have to say much. Like their eyes and their face would say it all. And that was the hardest part for me.
What was the like? What made it the hardest for you? The hardest thing that anybody told you through the process of everything?
There's really strong words said to me, but it was kind of like, oh, like what were you thinking? You know, like what happened to the dad? You know, um, like are you gonna make him responsible? You know, things like that. And I would just sit there and just like try so hard to take my mind somewhere else at the moment, you know? Like just kind of like ignore him, you know what I mean? Or pretend I'm not hearing it. It was hard. But I got through it, you know, like I was just I guess having you guys every weekend playing, you know, um just going to school. School really helped me a lot. Just not being in the house, thinking about it, you know. But as I said, I decided not to abort. So that was scary. I actually had an appointment, guys. I had an appointment. My dad scheduled an appointment, and I remember I was like, the night before, I already started feeling funny. Like, you know, like when you feel your stomach hard, and, you know, and I was like, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. And guys, I grew up going to church with my uncle. You know, he's really, really Christian, and I've learned a lot. So I was like, I'm gonna ask God, like, please help me. You know,
So you had a moment like where
yeah.
you're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm a kid, and I was scared
Yes.
to shit.
I'm scared
And
to everything.
I feel like I'm being blamed,
Yes.
and it wasn't my fault. Do you want to talk about what happened so
So
people can kind of understand?
well, yes, I prayed to God, guys. I was like, you know, please help me. Like you know what's best. You know, it's like it will happen if you know what's best. You'll take care of me. You know. So we went to this appointment, and they were like getting me prepped, and they called me, and I was like, oh God, please, you know. And when they were like, they were not letting my stepmom and my dad
Go
nobody
ahead.
going. They're like, no, no patient privacy. Nobody's, you know. So I was
So
like,
even if
thank
you,
God. I was
so,
like, thank God. Like, keep everybody away from me. You know, like I'm scared. And
so
it
you were in a
was
state of like you were so terrified you didn't even want anybody in
no,
there.
I was terrified. And then this lady's like, oh, oh my gosh, hold on, I need to call a doctor. And I'm like, I was like, oh my God. And then the doctor comes. He's like, oh, I have to tell you something. You're 2 days in of overlay if you can't work more. And I was like,
By 2 days.
2 days, guys. 2 days, 48 hours. And I was so happy, guys. was like, thank God, I'm not gonna go with it.
So pretty much like you didn't want to go through with the abortion.
No, I was terrified, and like my parents, I went to church, guys. I knew boarding was not the right thing, but my
At
you
least for
know
you, you
they
felt in your
insisted
heart.
because they felt like I was gonna ruin my life. Like it's just all bad, guys. But at the end of the day, God gave me what He wanted. He gave me His answer. It was right. And I guess it wasn't right, guys. It wasn't right for me to be under that knife, so I didn't go. And I knew after this, I knew it was going to be the hardest time of my life. I didn't know. I'm
Like you
kidding.
thought
I
you knew,
knew,
you thought you knew,
yes.
but then when you realize, like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm gonna.
No, I didn't know, but I knew it was like, okay, my belly is really going to grow now. Like, it's going to happen, you know? And then every day, like, you know, my loved ones would tell me it's going to be okay. The ones who knew, that it's going to be okay, like just pray and just, take it day by day. And guys, when they say take it day by day, I'm telling you, take it day by day. When you're going through something hard, don't overthink about things. It's the worst thing you could do. The worst. You know, thinking about suicide is first thing you're gonna think about. First thing. You want to disappear. You want to die. You just want to be away. You just want it to be like a dream and poof, wake up. Oh, I'm here. Nothing happened. It's that's why they say take it day by day because there's so much pressure to take, so much criticism you're gonna take. You're gonna. I was in freshman year with a belly, guys. I was like popular as fuck.
Because everyone was like, let me touch your
Like
belly.
everybody was like, "Let me touch your belly," and I was like, "Was making me feel better." Like at least people making me feel better that don't know me, and don't know what's happening in my house. You know,
Mhm.
and it took me into a better place. Sometimes I was annoyed.
You're like, stop, get away, I'm pregnant.
Yes.
Don't touch
You're
it.
holding me
Don't
back.
even look
I
at
need to
me.
pee.
No,
Yeah.
my favorite thing that you would do, and I would just be like, oh my God, Mindy, no, it's not. Maybe it is. I shouldn't be saying that. But every time we were all hanging out and you were hungry, we're like, Mindy, you just ate, it's for the baby.
Oh yes. Oh God.
And at that point, like you said it so much that at one point, all of us would just look at you like, is
It's
it
for
for
the
the baby?
baby.
Is it though? Is
Yeah.
it really?
And I was like, yes. Yes, you just told me. But guys, don't ever do that. Take care of yourself when you're pregnant because it's really important. My body was still growing and developing, and I didn't grow much, guys. I didn't even get to 5 feet.
You guys, she's the shortest member of the family.
Like it's bad.
She's like her own Oompa Loompa.
Yes.
But it was a difficult time for you, and not just during the process of the pregnancy. And this is a thing, like, I feel many, like, people should understand, like, about teen pregnancy. No
The,
matter the outcome or how it happened, the young girl that you're all criticizing and judging and telling her how it's her fault or how she should have known better. Obviously, she knows that. Obviously, she knows she should have known better. But there's different circumstances. In your case, it was non-consensual. She didn't go looking to get laid or have some fun. Um, you were raped.
yeah, it's just something
And
horrible.
you were
Like even saying the word guys sounds like haunting. Like it sounds scary, you know?
it
Like the
is.
word.
It is terrifying. And not only is it haunting because of the word and the experience, but because you were 14 years old, you're a kid. You are terrified that this happened. You feel like you cannot tell anybody because you don't know what's going to happen. You
You
just don't
just
want it to be real.
And let me tell you guys, when it happened, I was terrified. Like I didn't know what to do, where to go, who to tell, how to say it. It would play back in your mind. It plays and plays and plays, and you're like, okay, I have to do it. I have to do it. And then when you want to do it, you're like, oh my god, like what the fuck are they gonna tell me? Is it gonna like, it's gonna get crazy. Like what's gonna
What?
happen. The cops are gonna get called. Some crazy shit's gonna go on because what happened is not right.
So, what was it that encouraged you and gave you the strength and the bravery to tell someone? What was the breaking point for you that you realized, like, no, I need to tell someone?
When I realized something was not right with me, like I was not being the same person. Um, I really thought like, and I know a lot of people do this. They go through something and they never talk about it or say it. It's like their own little secret,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
you
And I can
know?
vouch for that because I know I've been in situations where the trauma from it, I just I feel like okay, it didn't happen. If I don't talk about it, it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that's how you felt.
And guys, my body started changing. I started feeling sick. I started feeling not right. I was like not even happy. The cousins would come over and I wasn't the Mindy that I was. All crazy. I was just like, I wanna eat,
I want to eat.
you know? And I came to the point where I would come from school and I was just like literally getting all this ton of food and going to my room and I would just stay there until the next day when I gotta go to school. And the same thing back and back and back till the end of the week. Till they got there. Till you guys got there and it was a little bit better. And then they would go home, same thing over again. I go to school, blah blah blah. So there comes a day where I'm just feeling so not right and something like my conscience is already telling me like you need to tell something, you need to tell somebody, you need to talk about it. And so I tell one of my cousins and they're like, okay, you need to tell somebody you know
You need to tell an adult.
and so I totally told my uncle. I called an uncle in Arizona, actually, guys. I didn't even trust my family at home. I called my uncle and I'm like, hey, this and this happened to me, and it happened to me here at home, and this is going on. And my uncle freaked out, and he's like, you know what? I'm calling cops right now. They're gonna be in your house right now. And so I had to run and I had to tell one of my other uncles so they could like know what was going on here at home. And then the cops show up, and that's when everything happens. Like the cops show up, they take the guy's name, they'll go arrest him. My parents are freaking out. My uncles are freaking out. I'm freaking out. And it's like from there, you think it's over because you say it. Like, oh, I said it. Oh, it's a relief. No. It's like a
This was just the
whole
beginning of can of
nother
worms.
level. It's like a whole nother dimension after this. You gotta go through criticism, you gotta go through questioning. The questioning is the worst. I think for me it was the worst part. Like when they question you the same thing, and you have to say same thing, and then
It's like you have to relive the experience.
yes,
And at that time too, you weren't really telling anyone the details.
no.
You were just
The
keeping
only
it.
person that knew details was the cops and my uncle. From there, I didn't really want to talk about it. And so it got to the point where, my dad had to attend all the court stuff. And I was at home just dealing with myself and my emotions and everything that I was going through. But even though I didn't go to court, it didn't change the fact that I wasn't receiving all this court notifications, court dates, DNA testing, um, all this stuff, And then to hear what they had to say was the worst part too, you know? So it's like, what do you do from there? You,
When you say to hear what they had to say, who are you referring to? Like,
the person that did it to me.
oh, so the person that did it to you was recanting, saying that it's not true, or
Yes. And so they came and took what do you
a
call
DNA
it?
test
A DNA test. That's what it was
and
made.
a lie detector,
Yes.
polygraph.
Probably, yes. That's what they call it. And so they came over to my house and they did everything there. And he was there. He ended up serving time, you know, but he was still, I guess, at the situation. At the current time, he was underage, so he didn't serve what he really deserved, to me and my point of view. You know,
Mhm,
either way, I mean, he's out there, and I hope he's not out there doing the same shit.
mhm. And
And
that's
this
a
is
very
another
important
thing.
thing
He's out
to.
there.
That's a very important thing to say, that you hope he's not out there doing the same thing, because you're saying that not to be petty, but because you understand the trauma you went through. You don't want anybody else to be put through it by him as well.
Yeah, you start thinking like, oh, I wonder who he's gonna talk to in his life that maybe he might do something again. Like, never know. You just can't. This is why they make them register as
Sex
sex
offenders,
offenders.
registered sex
You know,
offenders. So
but
when everything was happening and the court, he ended up getting sentenced, doing his time. How did you feel with the sentencing?
like it was like a slap in the face for me.
What would you have wanted for it to happen with the truth being out? Like, how did you feel?
I would have been okay with him doing years instead of
Months.
months.
How did you feel when he tried to say that you were lying, but then the
You know
truth
what?
came
To be
out?
honest, I think every woman experiences this, no matter who the dad is. Oh,
Mhm,
they're lying. If they don't want it or if it's
mhm,
not true for them. You know what I mean? So for him to say that, I expected it.
mhm.
I expected it.
So, how did you feel when the truth slapped him in the face?
Girl, I was. I'm not happy about the situation, but I'm happy that it bit him in the damn ass. You know.
And honestly, in a sense, we can all agree that he deserved his reality to come and bite him in the ass. He did something
It brought him
horrible.
back to reality. It brought him back to yes, you did. Yes, 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 yes.
There's
You know,
proof, there's evidence, there's an
like.
aftermath. And okay, so also because it happened and you were going through criticism and judgment and everything like that,
I was like a little turtle in my shell.
you were. And
I
then,
literally wore hoodies nonstop. That's all I wore. My hoodies. It would be 100 degrees outside, guys, and I would wear hoodies. That was just bad. That was just crazy.
when all of this was happening, I remember that you also came into a state where you were also more moody. Not just because of the pregnancy, but because you were going through all of this in silence and nobody really knew. Like the cousins didn't really know. I think only one or two cousins knew.
I never really talked about the way my family treated me as my belly was growing after the baby grew. Actually, after I had the baby, he brought a lot of enlightenment into my dad and my stepmom and my mom, But my other surroundings were still shitty. I'm talking about shitty as fuck. Like I'm talking about like for example, getting invited, like seeing your cousins go out and you can't go out, and for them to be like, "Oh, you can't go," you know, and like I missed out on so much stuff that I think that I could have had, you know, you know, with my good times with you guys, But of course, I had the baby and I couldn't. But they didn't miss out on letting me know that I couldn't, which made me feel bad. You know, like like I obviously I think I know that.
If there was something you could have told us back then, what would it have been if you could go back and do it over again and like in communication wise with us, your cousins? Like, do you feel like you should have just told us how it made you feel?
I think if I would have been more open back then, I would have not carried a lot of resentment and anger towards people. You know, um, I would have been freed from so many just unwanted emotions that I didn't have to carry.
Yeah. And I remember there was a time where I was just like, okay, Mindy, what happened? And I was just like, you don't look good. And you're like, I'm fine. And you did not open up. And I was just like,
It's just hard.
okay.
And
And
you
it
know what?
was
It kind of
hard.
fucks you up because you carry so much in. Like, I'm telling you guys, this is probably like 3 years to 5 years of just emotional trauma, of just inner taking, biting your tongue. Don't say nothing, la la la. You
By not
know?
saying nothing, was that something that you decided or was it something that was forced on you to keep it hush
It,
hush?
in the beginning, it was like hush hush. And then towards the end when it's like obvious, then it was kind of like I was so used to just staying quiet that I didn't even want to talk because I didn't feel like I needed to explain myself to nobody. Like they already made me feel the way they did. My dad could have helped me a lot, you know, but it was just the way everything was taken care of.
Mhm.
And like I said, a lot of families do not talk about the problems, even with each other that are the problem, you know?
Mhm.
And I feel like if I had a lot of more open communication with my parents, if my life would have been a little easier emotionally emotionally wise, I would have been a little bit more less stressed out and then less angry because when you let all that anger out, you feel like it never stops. Like
Mhm.
now you're so quick to be in your defense. You're so quick to be um, mad, you know, because you carry so many things for so long. And then you start realizing, like, why am I keeping quiet? Like, you know, like, why?
Mhm.
It's not even.
I know that there was a breaking point for you when you were just going through so much. And I know that I didn't help because I didn't know. And I was just like,
I started smoking pot, guys, and it was the worst. Like, for me, not for me, guys. It was the best. But for my family, it was the worst. I was like the black sheep of the family. Like I was already the black sheep because I got pregnant at 14. And now imagine smoking pot. Like
which in a sense, I feel like,
that was my getaway. That was like feel good, be smoke as much as you want.
mhm.
In general. And it would fade away in like 2 hours, I'd be good. I couldn't do that with alcohol. I would take 2 beers and I would be like messed up,
It's because you're
peeing every
short.
peeing every
It's because
five
you're
minutes.
short. But yeah, like I understand completely on smoking cannabis
Mhm.
to help with depression and anxiety. Like I'm
A
not
lot of anxiety.
honestly, I am not proud of it, but I smoked cannabis.
I'd rather
And
take
the
chemicals.
worst moment was when my dad found it.
Oh,
And he knew, but he didn't confront me there and then. He was too angry to confront me.
the worst
And
thing is
he was,
waiting for him to be
no, no, no,
angry.
no, no. And I didn't know he knew, but he
He was
held it in.
playing you,
No, no,
wasn't
he
it?
wasn't playing me. When he actually ended up like confronting me about it, like my dad, it's not so much of the anger, it was a disappointment because my dad is straight edge. My dad doesn't drink. My dad doesn't smoke. My dad has
Very
never.
serious.
My dad is not that he's serious, but my dad in his background, his dad was an alcoholic. His dad died being an alcoholic. And my dad vowed to never become like his dad.
Actually, it runs a lot in our family.
It
You know,
does.
yes.
But he's straight edge. So when he found out, I was just like, oh my God, I never wanted you to find out, Dad, because I know that you're against it. But this was prescribed through a doctor. Like I was like really in the sense that I'm not gonna do it. Like it took me years to even consider it. And when I did, I literally had my medical card and I did it legally. Like I wasn't the kid that was just like,
I get to connect.
no, I was never like that. I actually went to the doctor and they told me like, look, you have options. You can be on medication and these are the side effects and there's alternatives. And I told them like, okay, I want to know about the alternatives because people, are telling me about alternatives and cannabis and the drops and all that. And then he's like, well, that's an option for you. You can try it. We can't tell you not to. It's illegal. Medicinal cannabis is legal. You're not doing anything wrong when you are being prescribed
And
medicine.
honestly, it's more natural. It's kind of like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have a tea of chamomile because my intestines are inflamed." You know.
And we're not saying, oh, go out and smoke pot. We're just kind of explaining how, like, cannabis can be used in a positive way. There's a difference between being a productive cannabis smoker and,
Or being doing nothing and smoking weed.
and there's a difference. And I know me, I can understand how you felt when people would label you as a black sheep because I feel like I've been in that position. Maybe our stories are really different, but I know in my side, like I was.
Well, I know you got in trouble, girl, because I know my uncle.
Yeah.
So I got in trouble.
We got in trouble, you guys.
Yes. So
we got in trouble big time. And
it was worse because not just that, but from me smoking weed, it kind of turned the family. They would look at me more like, yeah, she's.
It was like you were being labeled. Like, okay, here's the hard part. When you're already viewed as the black sheep because you are not complying to their rules, and then you are trying to escape from the pressure of it, and then they find out that you are smoking or you're drinking, it's like, okay, you're a teen mom, now you're a drug addict, because that's how, honestly, that's how it's viewed. That's how it was perceived and viewed. And it was just like, I'm gonna keep it real. In our family, like in our dad's side of the family, it's not an uncommon thing to find out that there's a family member that smokes, drinks, or does heavy drugs. And the sad part is that in each household, all of our problems were kept hush hush. We were all going through our own family stuff, and nobody knew outside. Everybody thought, like, I'm going through this. They don't have to go through it. But little did we know that they were going through their own thing. And I bring this up not because we're bashing our family. Like I said, our family, we love our family. And honestly, all the adults in our family have done the best they can and gone beyond to make sure their kids are okay. That's one thing that, like, we can never say our parents have never made the effort, because they have.
Always there.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, like, because our parents are from a different generation. I'm not excusing it, but
they understand things differently.
They were raised in a different environment. Like, our parents migrated to the United States because of a war. They were in the middle of a war where they witnessed their friends and family get murdered because of a war that it wasn't their fault. And then in them growing up, it was a time where only drug dealers, bad guys, and hookers were having tattoos, smoking, drinking. So our family comes from a good background, in a sense that, they did their best to not be involved in criminal activity. Or
they're made here. They came and they
worked.
they conquered, and they're made.
They worked their butts off to be where they are today. And honestly,
Exactly.
I feel like we owe our parents
To be somewhere.
we owe our parents everything to be sitting here in this office right now, in a sense, because they could have easily been settled with their environment and stayed, but they're like, no, we want to do
More.
better. We
Yeah,
want to
more.
do more. We want to give our children a life away from death, from chaos, from all of this destruction and just pure evil.
Evil.
You know,
Nothing but evil.
nothing but evil at that time. And, when I say that, like, coming to cannabis, like, it is a big deal for our parents. Even to some, I know a lot of people can relate that if you got caught smoking weed, your parents would probably beat you.
What are you doing?
Like, what are
And
you
you're like
doing?
50.
It is like, honestly, I always say the only people allowed to yell at me and scold me are my mom and my dad. They made me. They have the right to say what they have to say.
Amen.
Even if I don't like it, even if they're wrong,
Even if they're wrong, you
sometimes
bite your tongue.
and it's like, it's not so much about biting your tongue, but now that I'm an adult, I understand it more.
Yeah.
I understand their frustration from our
Point of
mistakes.
view, yeah. Oh,
Because
yes.
keep in mind, parents don't want their children to go through the same obstacles they went through when they've worked so hard to get them out of that environment. And for us to not understand that and
comprehend what they want for us,
like, it's not fair to them, and they get frustrated, they get upset, and like any parent would, any loving parent would be upset.
Any loving parent.
It makes it difficult when you grew up in a background, at least our parents, where they didn't have the tools for healing the way we do now. And it's not our parents' fault. It's like,
it's okay.
it's okay. It's okay in the sense that, like, they did the best they could. Yes. Now that we're older, now, like, at least for me, with my parents, with my dad, that he was aware, he found it. Like, the fact that he didn't confront me right there and then angrily just showed me that he took the time.
He got patience.
No, he took the time to be patient, because my dad and I are similar in the sense that we have a temper. I'm not proud, but we have a temper. Yeah. And we have a difficult time processing our emotions, in the sense that we'll lash out because we're pissed, but we don't intend to be cruel or anything.
Malicious or anything.
When we're upset, we let it be known, like, you pissed me off. Yeah. We'll tell you what you're doing is wrong. Yeah. So the fact that my dad actually took the time, held his tongue, waited for the opportune moment to be like, hey, I found it.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And for him to see him so angry but so composed, honestly made me realize, like, my dad is changing. He doesn't want to be the same person he was when we were younger. He wants to be better. He wants to understand his children. So it's like he in a sense also he also matured, because no matter how old you are, you're always learning. You're always learning to be better.
I am 30 years old and I'm still learning.
And it's like, I just feel like my dad, when he did that, I realized, okay, my dad realized that him just being mad and telling us, like, chewing us out, and like, it wasn't the way. When it comes down to, it's like, hey, I want to know why you're doing it now. Yeah. And it's like, that's a big step, because when you grow up in a very strict household where you do not have a voice, you are being told the rules and what to do, and you're not allowed to
express yourself.
You're not allowed to express or contradict what they're saying.
If you say anything, you're
like
talking back.
The law that they put down was, we are the parents, you are the kids, you obey us. And every parent has that right.
And if they don't like it, if they don't like what we are doing, no matter if it's good or not, it shouldn't be done.
It's like, I feel now, at least in my experience with my parents, they've learned to talk and understand their children rather than just lay down the law and expect us to follow the rules without an explanation. I think now that we're older and they see the younger generation, like
Yes.
at least with me, my experience with my parents, like with my sister, I was not allowed to go over a friend's house. I was not allowed. I didn't go to my prom because my mom was just like, no.
I didn't either. I didn't. All my friends from high school, I didn't visit them
We
ever.
were never allowed to sleep over. But then when my
Only.
when my sister was growing up, I realized that my mom started looking back and like she was giving more freedom to my younger sister than she ever gave me. You know, and of course I felt like it's not fair.
Mhm.
But I realized like they were learning from the first batch of kids.
Yeah.
Like man,
And now they got the second
I
round. They're like,
feel
I could do this better.
yeah, and and honestly,
Easier.
it's like it's a learning process.
And I see
You
that with my dad too, with my, my son. He's already a teenager. So I see the change, and I'm just like, you got away with so much things, and I'm over here like so strict in life.
and it's hard because it's like not only is it hard because we were the first batch of kids, but because
Yeah.
we're girls.
Yeah.
And this is what makes it difficult when you're a girl, when you're a young lady, when you're a woman, and your parents are very protective and very strict.
Yes.
You are under a lot of pressure. You know, like you have to be perfect. You have to follow the
Oh
rules.
yeah, let me tell you, I have a baby now, and he's gonna be 2 years old. But let me tell you, I know what it means. I want to be protective. I can understand every single point of view of a parent now. Like I don't want him to miss school. I don't want him to get sick. I don't want him to learn something bad that he shouldn't learn. I don't want him. I want him to only do good and learn numbers and count and So I understand what parents want now. Like do nothing but good. You know.
And it's like you said, now you have your own baby. Now
Yeah.
you went from being a teenage victim, teen mom,
To
to being an adult mom,
I was able to
married.
marry and have my kid, and I'm so grateful my husband, is such a good husband, and he is so loving, and he never criticized me, guys. Never looked at me in any way the way other people had looked at me, because I was a teen mom. And that made me feel so good inside that he never once questioned me or anything. So it's a good thing.
There's hope, you guys. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't mean it, oh, you married off, you're good now. No, but
No, I'm just saying,
for
like,
you to have said earlier, like you felt when you got pregnant that you lost all hope of having the life you always dreamed about,
yes,
getting
you feel.
married.
Oh, I now I can't get married. I didn't even have a 15, guys. Like it was horrible. You
I didn't
know.
have a 15 either. I remember my dad, you want a car or do you want a party? I want a
A
car.
car, yes.
I never got the
I
car.
didn't even get offered a car, guys. I was just like, she's the black sheep, and it's just so much going on that nobody thought about 15 for me, you know, and
And that's the hard part too. Like, and this is why I wanted you to come in here and tell us your story.
missing out on everything you as a teenager want to do. And I'm not talking about, okay, you are a teenager, you see your cousins and you act like a kid. They expect you to act like a full grown adult. When how is that when my brain is not there yet? You know? How is that? Like they expect me to lose sleep, you know? How do I do that if my brain is still developing at a 14-year-old? So sometimes now that I'm older, I was like, oh, it's easier now than back then. But now I realize, like, hey, I'm an adult. I didn't have to get up for school. I don't have to get up for school at 5 o'clock in the morning. And guys, I was going to school. I would take my baby with me to school. We had a daycare. I made so many teen teen mamas out there that are, strong to this day, staying strong, beautiful, and they too, they went through the shit, you know. We all had a different story in that class, and then that was amazing too. At least, having that backbone of having somebody who's going through
A
a
similar.
similar problem of getting criticized, and
What advice would you give to the parents of teen moms?
I advise any parent, whoever you are, that is has a teen parent, you know, child, um, to be there for them, to always ask, guys, to always ask if they're okay, to always make them feel comfortable, to never judge them, no matter what you think inside. Sometimes it's better to just think it and not express it to them because at the moment they're going through something so big in their life that you as the person that it's going to be the biggest change in their life because that change is forever, and they don't know that. They're so scared, and they think they know it all. They think, oh, I got it. If you tell them something, they're going to say, yes, I know, but we don't know, you know.
Be patient.
Always have that patient, and always show love. Always show you care and that you love them, and repeat that for them because at that moment, that's what they need to hear the most. That you care and that you love them, and you're gonna help them get through anything because that's what we need to hear. You know, I heard it, but I wish I would have heard it more often. You know, I would have heard it weekly, if anything, because
On a
every
daily
day. Because
basis.
I'm saying, every day is a day. Every day is tough. We let those bad vibes, bad emotions, are that's what people call your inner demons. Your conscience just eating you up from the way you feel to get to you. We start hurting ourselves, and sometimes it's not even emotionally. We hurt ourselves physically, and you don't want to get there. Believe me, you don't want to get to hurting yourself, intensing with your life, or you know any of that, because at the end of the day, you're hurt because you're doing that, but at the end of the day, you're getting somebody else sick as well, because you doing that to yourself is going to get your family sick from that, and it carries on that stress, it carries on that problem, and that never goes away, you know it's always better to
What is
face.
one thing that you feel, like you said, be patient, be more loving? What is one thing that you wish you heard more of when you were going through this?
I wish I would have heard more of, you know everything's gonna be all right. I'm gonna help you through it. You know,
Yeah, I understand that part.
I didn't really get that. It was more quiet. The silence in the house, guys, needs to stop. It really eats people up. Really, not talking about it in between your family. If there's something that happened and you guys think it's okay to not talk about it because suppressing it is better, it's eating you up. It eats you
So,
up.
you advise families that may be going through a teen pregnancy within their household, the best thing to do is seek
Constantly talking.
more communication,
If you guys
maybe
don't feel comfortable
therapy,
talking
healing.
within each other, like, this is a problem in my house. The problem was we don't feel that trust within each other to sit in the couch and talk about our personal life. I suggest you guys get counseling, call Dr. Drew, something, Dr. Phil.
Dr. Jill.
you
And I
know,
agree, because I feel when something traumatic happens or something horrible, that I agree that every life is valuable and every life is beautiful, and that when, pardon if you hear the background noise, we're in our office and we do have neighbors. But what I was saying is, communication is very important. And when your family is going through a teen pregnancy or a situation where you don't want to talk about it, that's the moment you have to talk about it. That just means
That's the best moment.
that's the best moment to confront the issue as a family and not project disappointment and anger and frustration by not talking about it and then resenting each other.
Yeah, it creates resentment. It creates unwanted anger. Just anger. Oh, why are you mad at them? I don't know. Just I remember you did something to me that I didn't like.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
honestly, I feel because in a sense you and I understand like of forgiveness. I know there was a moment where you and I were kind of like rocky, but
yes.
we are able to literally talk and get deep.
The thing is, it was only one night rockiness, okay, and it was due to just misunderstanding. But
But we overcame
we
it.
overcame it like the next day,
And I
thanks to
think
our dads.
honestly, I remember our dad sat us down.
Guys,
And I
they
know
drove to my house.
I remember I told my dad, look, this is what happened. I'm not proud of it. I want to go and sit down and talk to her because I don't want this to keep happening.
Yeah.
And we're family. We had to sit down, we talked it out, and we
And then
overcame it.
it ended up being a good conversation because we ended up finding things out about our dads we didn't know about. Remember?
I know. And I was just like,
Oh, we could do that too. Like, and so we learned.
it
a
was
couple
like,
stuff.
and because we decided, honestly, because we decided that we wanted to have this sit down and force our dads to be there, because we were just like, we
I'm
can't.
not gonna do it.
I'm not doing it alone, you know.
Yeah.
Like we need our parents there. Dad, come be my backup.
Yeah.
um, you know, like we were able to actually talk about it, and because we talked about it, we are able to sit here today and
It's like talk about your problems, get closer,
confront your issues,
know?
confront the problems, because at
Yes.
the end of the day, you know, the only people you really have is your family. And
Yeah.
if you're not willing to sit down,
Sometimes friends come and go. You're not guaranteed your friends, but you're guaranteed your family.
yeah.
You know?
And you know what? Family isn't perfect. Sometimes there's family you do need to cut off,
Yes.
you know, and there's nothing
Poisonous
wrong with.
people until they become cleaned out are okay.
Yeah. And when I say that, like, there's nothing wrong with cutting out people who only bring pain and hurt into your life.
If you are ready to change and ready to be that, good vibe person and ready to let go of those, things that hold you back from taking those steps of being something successful in life, somebody better, you know, even if you have problems with socializing, I went through that for a very long time. I didn't have friends, I didn't talk to nobody, until even when I started working, I was still very distant until,
And I
I
think
was
I
like
can
my mid
relate
20s.
to you with that, because I know with me, like, I'm very, like, I'm very much into my own shell.
Yeah.
And I very rarely open up to people about my personal life. And the reason why I'm like that is because I've noticed that people, when they get angry, they'll throw it in your face, whatever you tell them. And I don't like that. If I tell you
don't use
something,
my stuff against me.
yeah. And it's like when you tell someone something, and this is something that a lot of my close friends have told me, it is unforgivable for you to open up and that person to try to use what you were carrying inside to hurt you.
Yeah, definitely.
If somebody tries to be petty with you in a moment of frustration, they're showing you how little they value you because they're trying to put you down in the dirt when you already feel down in the dirt. You know, so
always look
and
for
a lot
them
of
words
times
of
this can
encouragement.
happen a lot amongst family. You know, like you can be in an argument with your parents, you can be in an argument with your siblings, cousins, or whatever it may be. But it's like when it comes to friends, it's easier to just cut out a friend than it is to cut out family.
Because family, you grew up. When I remember I was little, growing up in Compton, I remember, my visits. who were my visits? My cousins, They were my first thing I remember when I was little, my cousins. And then after that, okay, I remember my uncles and aunts. But my cousins were the main thing because, I played with my cousins. I ate with my cousins. I ran with them.
You
I
fought with
fell
them.
with them. I messed them up. They messed me up. Like, we remember the deepest things, with each other. The fights, the laughs, the cries.
The near-death experiences, camping.
Camping that.
Like,
yes.
our family is a very let's go camping type of family.
We almost died together, guys. I almost killed her. It was my fault.
She panicked, and in her panic, she starts laughing because she's freaking out.
Every time I'm
and
nervous,
because she gets tired, she decides I'm gonna hold on to Nora. And why?
Drown her too.
She was just like trying to climb up on me, thinking like she's this small creature, but it's like, no, girl, you're killing me. I remember when we got out. Bro, okay, this is the funny thing. We're gonna talk about something funny. The near-death experience. When we got out of the water, I was so mad. And I remember looking at you, I was like, we told you to fucking wait.
I jumped off the cliff like 5 times.
We're cliff divers. In our family, we are cliff divers. We jump off the cliffs, and sometimes we go camping at Kern River. Or this happened in Kern River. And in Kern River, there's a lot of cool cliffs, like rocks, where you can just jump off. But you need to know what you're doing, Mindy.
They have what are those things called that like the little
underwater tornadoes.
Oh,
like when the current is coming fast and then it's pushing and then it pushes some of the water. There's like a little beach here. Like the water tends to push itself around, like it goes straight,
and it turns into a little swirl.
That amount of pressure ends up pushing some of the water to the side. But because the current is so strong, it starts forming like a little underwater, tornado, whatever you want to call it. A little whirlpool. There you go.
So we ended up diving in.
So one of my cousins ends up saying to Mindy, one at a time, Mindy, wait till she's out of the way.
I didn't hear her.
She didn't hear him.
I jumped off, guys.
And right after I jump, and we were all, take note, we were all following this routine. You jump, you get out of the way, and then the next person jumps when the person's out of the way.
The other one's climbing, and then so on.
But this one over here.
I couldn't wait, guys. And so I jumped. I jumped right behind her and almost landed on her.
No, you did. You ended up kicking me. When she kicked me, I was just like, crap. She jumped.
Guys, I landed in that whirlpool.
The whirlpool was, okay, you need to know how to get out of a whirlpool. When you're going with the whirlpool, the way to get out is let it kind of take you, relax. Don't panic, Mindy. You don't panic.
I think when I knew that I fell on her, that's when I panicked already because she was
survival 101. When you're stuck in a whirlpool, don't panic. You're supposed to just relax
your body, guys.
And when it takes you and you feel like it's coming out, it takes you to a certain way. When it pushes you, you have to be able to kind of like push yourself and swim out as the current is pushing you.
If you don't get out, turn into a ball and pop you out. Don't freak out like me.
Because we want to be dead. Yes. But we overcame. I remember like at the end, one of our cousins and some stranger ended up jumping in and pulling us out. And I remember everyone was mad at you.
Guys.
And then
they were mad at me because I was laughing.
Well, of course.
But it wasn't my fault because I was so nervous, guys. I just couldn't stop laughing.
No, and
I
it's
was
funny
cracking up, paddling like a damn dog, trying to survive.
No, and then at the time I was like, oh my God. When I realized she was panicking and she was on me, I was like, I have to get out of here and I need to get her out of here.
Oh yeah, because I was gonna drown. I couldn't move my body when I got to her. I was like stiff.
There was a moment where I like popped up. And I literally had to punch you off me.
Oh, yeah, you did punch me.
Because I was just like, oh, girl, I cannot breathe.
Girl, but you know what? And it wasn't just me and her. It was our other cousin, that was right behind us, too. And she was pedaling like a dog as well. It was
No,
3 of us.
that was another time. Like,
No, that was that time. And then the second time it was Vanessa
oh, that's
and
right.
all these other girls in another rumble.
Yeah, I don't think I was in the second one. I remember
I
being
was
in the
another.
one
I
when
was
it
in the
was just
second
you and
rumble too,
me.
guys.
You
I
see,
missed the ropes.
if you ever go camping with her, do not swim next to her.
I ain't going in the water. I don't think I can swim anymore.
No, I love the water. I'll just jump in
No.
there.
I
But
can't do
no,
no
when I
flips.
say like you need to be experienced and skilled when you go swimming in Kern River because this is no joke.
Yeah, you could die instantly. That river stream takes you.
Every time we would go camping, the rangers would come do their inspection and warn us there was a drowning.
Today. There's usually a drowning like every time we go. People like drinking alcohol. They take their drugs up there. They don't understand that water is no joke.
Yeah, no, and it's like we were skilled swimmers because
We've been swimming since we were like 5.
and our uncle, your dad, he's the reason why
Yeah.
all of us know how to swim because
My dad's like a fish.
and the thing I love about your dad is that every time we would go camping, before he would let any of the kids go in the water,
Yeah.
he would scuba dive in the river and he would bring out sometimes a bucket of like sharp bottles or whatever.
Oh yeah, he would clean the river stream where we were gonna hang out.
To make
build
sure
like
we
a
would
little
drink.
pool with rocks, and he would put a rope across the river so it would do tree to tree. So
it was
in
safer
case-
to cross the river
Yeah.
and go hiking up the mountain.
Or
But
even if we wanted to be in there and the stream was a little strong at the moment, we could hold on.
we could hold on to it. Like he would tell us where not to go
Yeah.
because he's a skilled scuba diver, swimmer, and that's like these are childhood memories that we will never forget.
Never.
Good or bad, they're there. Near death experiences.
Hey
at
guys, we'll
campfire.
be eating some fresh seafood. I'm talking about fresh.
Well, river food, like
lobster fresh.
Yeah, I remember the little lobsters, and you had to have a license. So if you ever plan on going to Kern River, make sure you get all your
licensing.
Yeah, because you don't want to get in trouble.
Yes.
But yeah, okay. So back to the conversation.
Guys. This topic isn't easy, and I am glad to share the topic. It feels good, to be able to share this topic with you guys because a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and like I say, I don't want to say it's like it is a woman empowerment, very much indeed, but also I know male men go through it as well. It's not just women. And so, teen parenting, guys, is something serious. I'm noticing a lot of teens are getting pregnant still. And it's just a cycle that's not ending. Nothing's really getting solution.
There's no solution to it if parents are not building the time to talk about these issues with their kids.
Get to know your kids more. I'm gonna
and I do, and I agree with you on that. Get closer to them because honestly, growing up, my parents, they're amazing parents, but even I felt like there was a barrier because there was things that they didn't know how to
they weren't comfortable talking about it.
And I think honestly though, in our household, when everything was happening, you got pregnant, I think that was the first time that my parents decided like, okay, we need to have the talk. We need to get to know where our kids are at. Because nobody knew details. And
you know what? I always felt really comfortable talking to your mom. It was weird. I had my favorite aunts that I would feel comfortable with, and it was very few. And her mom was few of them. But she was just so sweet, and she would always give me the best advice. You know that when you want to hear something, like kind of what to do, but you don't know, but you want to hear it off somebody's voice, so they confirm to you, like, yeah, do it.
And I feel like my mom has the gift on knowing how to comfort people because my mom, growing up, like my mom had to face her own confrontations and issues. Like I said, our parents grew up in the middle of a war. My mom actually had to live with one of her aunts, and it wasn't easy. It's not easy to not be at home with your mom, where your mom comforts you, loves you. Like, at the end of the day, you need your mom, you know, and my mom loves you. To this day, she's like, when I tell her, oh, I talk to Mindy, she always asks about you, how you doing. But,
Yeah.
you know, like my mom does have that gift. And I'm proud to say that she has that gift because not that many moms know how to do that comforting. And me saying this after knowing that me and my mom have had our ups and downs, it's still like I acknowledge that my mom has this beautiful heart and is capable of humbling herself
Yeah.
to be there for people when she
Yes,
knows they
like
need it.
exactly.
So,
Like she knew, and then, you know what was funny? Every time she would see me, she knew like, "Oh, are you okay?" She always knew when to pull me aside. You know, she always knew, "Hey, are you okay?" You could tell me, and I would tell her, and she was always giving me advice how to handle my, the stuff or the situation, which were always, good advice to me because what's better than no advice?
yeah.
So
And honestly, my mom would never give advice that will make you feel like she's scolding you. It's
yes,
more,
I think that's what I love. That it never felt like a preach.
yeah.
Like it never
And I
felt
honestly,
like
I say that because my mom, when it comes to her nieces and nephews, my mom tries to be the most loving person because she knows what it is to have a tia that's kind of judgmental or mean,
yeah.
you know,
I think we
and
all have a tia like that.
uh-huh, and it's like I told you the other day, like I give my mom credit in that because
Yeah.
even though as like I said, me and her have had our ups and downs, it does not discredit the fact that she's an amazing person. You know, like it's
It doesn't. I mean, I have my ups and downs with my mom. My mom could be very outspoken, kind of like no filter. But at the
but
end
you
of the
know
day, I
what?
love her.
That's
And
the thing though. That's what I'm saying. Like parents do the best they can with their children and they're not given a manual. You know, for those of us who have experienced hard times um, with our family, um, hold on, this thing's 10%. Okay. Um, it's not easy for parents, and we don't come with a manual when we're born. So when our parents do
very
their,
true. I ain't got no manual for my kid. I'll be going crazy.
so it's like give your parents a little bit of credit when
You're under a situation, a stressful situation, very hard, stressful situation. I'm not saying discredit your parents, but also open up to them a little bit. A little bit of feedback, a little bit of um, you know, let them know that you're okay to open up to get the help you need, because you cannot get the help you need and feel any better if you do not talk about it, or you do not, even if you don't want to talk to your family members about it, always seek help with somebody. Like, there's always numbers, hotlines you could call. There's always, groups, interventions you could go to, and open up. Even if you don't want to ever see that person again, like at least you opened up about it and you talked about it. It makes you feel better, you know.
that's very true. So we hope that this conversation, even though we kind of took it to our youth and our camping trip, it kind of gives you a perspective on what it is that teen moms go through, how difficult it is to be a kid
Yeah.
expecting to be an adult because of a situation that's beyond their control. In your situation, like I said, it was not consensual. It was not your fault. And
And also, it's not, my parents' fault, or I'm not. I intentionally, like, I don't want to, like, guilt anybody. It's nobody's fault, like,
at the end of the day, the only person guilty was the person
who
who
did it to me.
did it.
There's a lot of people that, try to make it an excuse, or it's because, and it's okay. They do it because they need to find a reason, to feel like, oh, you know, it's so and so's fault because I live there and they should have taken care of me, and or somebody could have helped me, that, and you start getting that resentment of it could have, should have been, if could have been this way, but it didn't. Don't ever delay or dwell on it. You could say, you know.
And it doesn't mean that you don't have the right to feel the way you feel, because
Yeah.
I know that there was moments where you felt like you wish things were different.
Yeah. And you know what? There was times where they were like, "Is there something that really happened to you? Because you look happy." You know, like they expected me to sit there and cry and be depressed or cut myself, or because I would hang out with my cousins and have a laugh. And just because you don't show at all times that depression and that mood and those feelings, it doesn't mean you don't feel that way. You know,
Yeah.
you could be
And
happy for 5, 10 minutes, 3 hours that my cousins come and visit, and as soon as they leave, you go back to the same shadow.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, this is why it was so important for me to have you share your story, because, like, you went through it in silence.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we would have known, I think things would have been a little bit different for you.
Yeah, I
If
definitely would have
if
helped
we would have
more
all
support from you
if
guys.
we all would have been able to have been that support system you needed, things would have been a little bit easier for you. And when I mention support system, I think it's very crucial and important for any household, any family that is actually going through a similar experience that you went through. Be that support system. Don't stay silent. Let that child that's being in this situation have the support system they need
Yes.
by talking about it.
And if you feel in any type of way that, you don't have anybody to talk to because you feel like the person you're going to tell is not really a person that could keep what you're going to say to them, like I said, it's always okay to confine yourself to find, counselor or, somebody that could help you, get rid of those emotions, even with your own self, you could actually get a diary, a book, something, and write yourself out. Write everything you feel. I wish I would have done that, because I've learned different methods now on how to express yourself and feel better. You know, back in the days, people used to write journals and diaries, and so I mean,
Actually, I am picking that habit up. I started doing that because I am a person that currently is dealing with her own anxiety and
oh
depression,
yeah,
and her life is just like
we all have our little
as
demons,
perfect as my life can be. Like, I have my own trauma from my youth and my own emotional healing I'm going through.
Mhm.
And one thing that, like, I actually spoke to my friend Nat. She was one of our guests. She was our guest for episode 4 today. And I spoke to her and she's like, have you done talking therapy? Like, what can we do to get you not feeling this way? Like, these are options, and this is how crucial it is for young women to be able to be vocal, because if we say, hey, I need help,
Mhm.
I'm going through this, even by not saying I need help, but by just saying, hey, I'm feeling this way, I've been crying a lot, or I just feel emotional and I don't know what's going on.
That's the sign. They're telling
That's the
you, I
door.
need somebody to hear me
Yes,
out.
that's the door you're opening of saying, I need help.
I mean,
And
even telling your own self, I
yeah,
need it. I need to talk about it. Talk about it
yes.
with your dog. Talk about it with your cat. I'm serious. Like, you know, animals in general, too, they're so affectionate. Like, they might not know exactly what you're saying,
But
but
they
they will
comfort.
comfort you, too, as well.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, our message for today is,
Yes.
don't be afraid to speak up on how you feel.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid to say, hey, look, this is what happened to me. I don't know what to do. Don't
And
be afraid to say, hey, I need help.
I'm a victim and I need help. And even though it happened to you 10 years ago, it doesn't matter. If it happened to you yesterday or happened to you, you know, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, it doesn't matter how long ago, you're still victim. It still happened, and you're still going through the trauma.
Yes. And also keep in mind, just because you are a victim, it does not mean that you're not a fighter and that you're not a survivor. Because part of being a survivor is having to confront it and having to
Accept
accept. Because the moment you start accepting the reality, it's the moment that you start,
to heal.
yes. If you cannot accept the reality of what's happening, of the traumatic experience, you're going to be trapped in
In
a
some
cycle
denial.
of denial, and then it can lead up to delusional
You
phase.
start losing control of what's reality and what's not as well.
That's true.
Because you start believing anything you do and anything you can make up, you can mix it into the truth.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like it was needed to have this conversation, because I know that even though it may be a difficult topic, it is a topic that needs to be talked about more. It is a topic we need to discuss more. It is a topic we need to bring to light more, because if we truly want to end this epidemic of teenage pregnancy and of young women unraveling into a dark identity that isn't them, it starts at home. It starts with what's going on at home. Why are you accepting an identity that isn't you? Why are you accepting the identity of a black sheep? Who is telling you this? Talk to the people who are making you feel like you're a black sheep. Let them know how they make you feel. Let them know that those words have an impact that is damaging you. And for those who have experienced it, know firsthand of what we're talking about, of what it is to be labeled something you're not. I feel there's a lot, at least in the Latino community, they have a saying, that, oh, tiene novio, she has a boyfriend, she's gonna get pregnant. Like, it's a very
Prove them
prove
wrong.
them wrong. Don't fall into the trap that because they say it, it must be true. Like, no, be
Yes.
own your essence, own your identity. Who are you? You may be a 14, 13-year-old young lady, but who are you? Who do you want to be? How do you see yourself? Are you going to allow people to tell you who you are, or are you going to show them who you are? Because it is difficult, it is hard, and it's very important for, I feel, for mothers and fathers to constantly tell their daughters, you're beautiful, you're smart, and
That's
you
what parents
have
should
a
be telling their
purpose.
kids.
You know,
Their daughters. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're intelligent. Go get it. You know.
yes. And no matter what situation it may be, like, the one thing I always felt like it wasn't fair is the double standard. Why is it okay for your son to go out with his friends and hang out, go on dates? But when your daughter wants to do it, you automatically get defensive, strict, and condemning. Condemning in the sense of, why are you doing this? You're just going to end up getting pregnant. Or why are you doing this? Why are you going to go out with friends? You're just going to be a victim. And it really, I'm very passionate about this in the sense because, one,
We went through it.
we went through it, and it is hard because to see
Right.
everyone have the freedom to be their own identity, and then for you to be kind of trapped in a cycle of, you're being told that if you were to be your own identity, you're automatically this negative essence in the household. And it is very difficult for young women to not fall into a deep state of depression when they're constantly being told
You
what
can't.
they can't do, why they can't do it.
Just the word "I can't" is depressing, guys.
Oh, yeah. It is, because I remember, like, it came to a point where I wouldn't even ask my parents for permission. I would just say, sorry, my mom said no. And even though I didn't ask any, it's because I already knew the answer. And it's like, I don't blame my parents for being protective. I'm their baby. But also, I'm going to say this, being a young woman, a young teen, I felt like a prisoner in my own home where I couldn't go out. I couldn't enjoy going to the movies. I didn't get to go to prom. I didn't get to do all these other little things. And it's just like,
And that's how it starts losing trust with parents. You start being sneaky.
you know, the saying that goes, kids with the strict parents are the ones who know how to do the sneakiest things.
Yeah, I believe you.
And,
Sneaky.
and I'm not about to start confessing my
Right, we're not about to say how we escaped home, but
how we sneaked out. No,
yeah.
but it is true. Like your kids start to feel like they can't talk to you, they can't open up to you, they can't tell you, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna go buy a soda with my friend. I'll be back in like 15 minutes." Because then they feel like if I tell you that, it's gonna be this whole argument
About how I'm gonna go get pregnant.
Yes. Oh my God.
So
I remember one time I was like, this was before even you got pregnant. This was way before.
Wow.
And my mom is like, I don't want to find out that you end up getting pregnant. And I'm just like,
on the Santo Domingo. And
yeah. And then me, I'm just like, I am a child. I am a virgin. What are you talking about? I remember, like, honestly, that is the worst thing you can, like, to say. I understand parents want to protect their kids. But, you know, my advice, being that I am a kid in the sense that I'm not a parent yet, I haven't been honored with that privilege yet. But being a kid, that was when my mom said it in that, like, mean, mad state of mind when she said it, it was the most hurtful thing to me because it was just like
coming from her.
It was just like, if only you knew I was the one person that you did not have to worry about. I was like, I am like the virgin of like the household. Like dude, I was still, this is embarrassing, but I was playing Barbies all the way up to 8th grade. Like I would get my little dolls and be like dressing them up, making little dresses. Like that's how much my mind was far away from boys. I did not start dating until I was 16.
And we still played tag every time they played
Yes. Like I was 16 when I started dating and it was too weird for me. I remember I like broke it off because I did not feel comfortable holding hands, let alone let someone kiss me. I remember my first kiss was just like, ew, I don't want to be doing this. Go away. Like, I'm sorry. I like you, but I don't think I'm ready for this. Like,
I didn't even have a first kiss, guys. I was just like,
what do you mean you didn't have your first kiss?
Well, I never had a boyfriend. Did you meet my dad?
Well, okay. that doesn't mean you didn't.
I never kissed anybody. I was always too terrified.
Well, yeah. No, and then also I didn't date this person until I let my mom know because I was scared. I was scared.
Remember that fear, guys. It's okay to keep it in you sometimes.
No, I was scared because it's like my parents were so strict. And my thing growing up is I always wanted my parents' approval. And sometimes it was very hard to get that sense of approval. Right. So when I opened up to my mom, like, and I told her, my mom was like, surprisingly, really? She was excited.
And your dad was like, no.
No, honestly, I think at that time, it was around the time that my parents had separated. And my mom and I were like, it was hard because there was a time when me and her were getting really, really close. And then there was a time when it first happened, me and my mom were getting very close. But then during that time, me and my dad hadn't seen each other for about a year. I had zero contact from my dad for a year. And that was my choice because I was angry. I was angry at him. I was disappointed. And I felt
so much emotional.
I felt emotional. I felt as if I hated him because I never expected him to do things the way they played out. So I was just there for my mom. My mom was in a state of depression, of sadness, like my mom loved my dad. She still loves my dad. And she never would have expected it. She always wanted to make it work with him. And when it happened, when it came to the conclusion, like, no, my mom is a very strong woman. She told him, you either tell me the truth or you don't enter this house at all. And I know this because I literally, they were in the front yard in the, you know where the garage thing is. I was like, I want to hear this conversation. I want to know.
You're being sneaky.
No, I wanted to know. I wanted to know what my dad had to say.
Yeah.
But I also knew that it was an adult conversation. I couldn't be in front of them. They had to talk it out. But being me, I ran to the garage and I put my ear in the garage.
You were listening.
And I was listening. I heard the entire conversation. I heard the entire conversation, and
It must have been really hard for you as well.
I was crying the entire time. Like, I was right there and I had tears in my eyes, and I was hearing what my dad was saying. I heard what my mom was saying. And in a sense, I was proud of my mom for standing her ground, because she told him, you're not entering this house until you tell me, where were you? You know, what's going on with you? Because I know we have problems, but we either talk them out right now, you come and you spill the beans, tell the truth, or you're not entering this house. She told him, you're respecting this house. And it played out. My dad, that day he left, and that was the last time I saw him for a year. No, he came back to get some stuff, and he's like, I know my dad was hurting. He in a sense regretted it, because I could see it in his eyes. Like, he felt like crap. He felt like I failed my family, and he didn't have to say it. I could tell. I know my dad. He's the type of dad. He was a family man. He, not in a million years would my dad have ever done that, but I guess the problems got the best of him, and it happened.
And it happened that they didn't talk about it, and they got the best of them.
And there it is. And it's like, and here's the thing, like, it's not easy. So when me and my mom were getting close and everything, this is when I was like, Mom, I like this boy. And my mom met him. She liked him. She said he's a good kid. Excuse me. My dad, I don't think he knew, because he just wasn't in the picture for that year. But I think the time that me and my mom started like disconnecting was when my dad came back into the picture. I feel like my mom felt like she was being replaced or chosen over.
Oh, I remember why.
You know, and it was like, I was just like, I was in a point where it's like, you know what? I need my dad. I need that relationship with my father, because he's my dad. And I wanted her to understand, like, I would never choose one parent over the other. You're both equally my parents. And I love you both.
Yeah.
You know, but at that time, I felt like my mom's hurt was just, she felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. Like, for her to have to endure all that pain,
Yes.
and then to feel like her support of her children are slowly going to the person that hurt her, it was very
that
hard.
That was very hard. Yeah. And then you start fighting. Oh, you like him more.
Yeah, and then that's where all of the problems between me and my mom started. And it's not like I'm dishing out all the drama. No, my mom is an excellent mom. My mom is a mom.
Really good auntie.
She's the mom that she will make sure her children have eaten before she eats. My mom is the type of person that, even though she was going through all of that, she didn't want to cry in front of us to show us her pain, because she didn't want us to stress over it. Yeah. You know,
she
but
was strong for you guys.
But what she went through was very traumatic. And to this day, I tell my dad, my mom has every right to bring it up if she needs to, because it's part of the healing process. Yes. And that's when a woman is cheated on, when a woman is betrayed, it is very, you did.
They could forgive, they will forgive you, they will reassure you they'll forgive you, but that doesn't mean that they don't forget.
That they will forget. Like, it doesn't mean that they're going to forget. Yeah, you know, and yeah, it was just part of this, like, our lives. Yeah. Like, this is the journey we go through. Like, every woman has her story. And this is why I love that all my guests are so open to talk about the journey. It's not easy. Life is not easy. Being a woman is very hard, because we're expected to always be perfect, to always be our beautiful self.
To not show weaknesses is super hard.
Yeah, and it's like, women are very emotional. Women are very, very vocal too. Like, we we want to be heard. And this is what this platform is about. I want each woman that comes here to speak their truth, to talk about their journey, their obstacles, how they overcame them, the joy of it, the struggle of it, because it's part of life. It is our journey. And women deserve that platform. Women deserve to have their voice heard, you know? And I'm just very happy that you decided to come on here with me and share your
Very,
story.
very welcome.
And I know that it was very nerve wracking for you.
It is. It's
Like I know when you're nervous because since we were little, I've noticed that when you're nervous or you're not sure, you tend to like play with your fingers.
I've been playing with my hands all day
You
and
know?
my feet.
So it's like it's not easy, and I know that it is a hard thing to face every
Very
time to
hard.
talk about it and to
Every
open up. But
And anytime you talk about it, it's gonna make you feel weird. It's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. You're never gonna feel good about the topic when you talk about it. But it's another step, and it's a big step. Every time you talk about it, it's another big step you're taking. You know.
I'm proud of you for being able to overcome so much, even though you're still in the process of healing and you're
And
still.
the healing takes a while. Don't expect to wake up, next week and be like, "Oh, it's gone. It should be gone already. I shouldn't feel like this." Or next year, like it's gonna take you years of healing. You know.
But don't be discouraged either. Like it may take years, like Mindy said, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to have beautiful moments in between. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have good days. It means that there's still going to be obstacles. There's still going to be days where it's going to be very hard to even get out of bed and confront the day. But it doesn't mean that there's not going to be good moments throughout the day. It does not mean that there isn't going to be good people who are going to come and support, give you the support and the love that you desperately need in that moment.
Yes.
You know, the most valuable thing that you can do for yourself is reassure yourself that you can overcome this, you can do this, you can survive this, because at the end of the day, this is just part of your journey, and this is just a chapter that is molding you into being who you choose to be. What identity are you claiming? You know, last week we talked about identity with Liz, and it's crucial. It's very crucial that we identify ourselves. We
Don't lose yourself.
don't let the world, don't let society, don't let family, don't let anything identify you. You identify yourself. Don't be afraid to say, look, wait a minute. I understand your frustration because you don't have all the information, but I'm going to take the moment to let you know what's going on, the reality of my version. And hopefully this will make you understand of what it is I'm going through, and maybe it can make you understand why I am the way I am. And I'm working not to be the negative version of myself. I'm working to be the best version of myself. And I do not need you or anybody else to constantly remind me of my flaws, because I don't live in my flaws. I live in today. I live in being the better version of myself.
Obviously, yes. And we all make mistakes. We all, mess up. We all say things we don't mean. But, always be positive and say positive things to one another.
Yeah. And then also, I think it's very crucial and important to support each other as women. Be the support that you wish you had to other women.
Yes, like she said, if for that day you feel like, hey, today is the day that I feel like, I don't feel good. I want to talk about, what happened to me like last week and so, and you just happen to meet this person and you feel comfortable enough to have a conversation, open up a little bit. It doesn't have to be necessary what happened to you, but you could talk about your feelings, you could talk about, you know, hey, let's do something, make friends, socialize, and open up to people as well. It will bring out the sourness in your heart, hanging out with, bubbly people, happy people. It sticks. It really does stick to you. It makes you happy, it makes your day, and you stop thinking negative as well.
Yeah. And with that said, like, thank you for coming and opening up
You're welcome.
and letting other women and moms know, like women who went through it or are going through it, you know,
You're not
you
alone.
you went from a very dark, dark, dark place to a better place that you're still working on getting even better. You went from being a scared 14-year-old teen mom to now being able to,
I feel like I could face anything now, just because I faced so much negativity and as a young person, now I just don't take anything. You
yeah,
know.
and I can relate to that, like those who go through the most obstacles, hoops, and ring of fire, we tend to be the ones who can endure most. And we tend to be the ones who can overcome any obstacle quicker in the sense that we can reflect on it. You know,
Quicker. Yeah.
we understand that nothing is permanent. And this is something that we all need to remember. Nothing is
It's
permanent.
permanent.
Bad days are not forever. And the good days, you have to value them because they're not
They're
forever either and they
they're
pass. So take care of what is important to you. Feed your energy onto the goodness and greatness you
yes.
have inside yourself. Do not let anyone tell you who you are. You show them who you are. If you want to be a person that is not a black sheep, is not labeled in a negative way,
Yeah.
you show them by expressing yourself, composing yourself, and simply living your life to your fullest potential. No matter what situation you're in, today is not forever. Tomorrow's a new day. If you feel like today you failed,
And
newsflash,
tomorrow is
you have a
better.
chance, you have an opportunity for tomorrow. If you feel that right now you're upset, newsflash, an hour from now, you have the opportunity to completely change how you're thinking,
Mhm.
your attitude, your mentality, your emotions. Everything and anything we go through is not permanent. And all these horrible things that can happen to us, they're temporary. And we carry the power. We have the power within
We have
us.
the power to change our destiny and make ourselves happier.
Yes. Yep. Thank you for coming. I
You're
really
welcome.
am so happy that you did this. And I know it's very challenging. And before we go and we end this episode, I want to ask you to share with any teen mom who is experiencing a hard time at home, what is one thing you want to tell them?
Stay strong, stay focused, and don't let anybody tell you that you're going to fail. Don't let anybody get in your head and tell you that you're going to fail, that you cannot do it because you have a baby, that you cannot work, that you cannot get your own home, your own car. Don't rely on nobody. Just focus and, you know, keep moving forward.
That's really good advice. I feel like you're going to change somebody's life. I feel like you are changing people's lives,
Yeah.
and
Like I've
that,
met so many women out there that are so distraught still with, their past. And it hurts me to see that because they might think I've never been through nothing, because they see me okay, but like I said, what doesn't kill you make you stronger.
it does. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And again, thank you for sharing your story. Um, if you guys have any questions or if you guys want to um, need information or help on how to deal with a situation similar to what Mindy went through, feel free to message us, DM us through Facebook or through Instagram at the Woman Warrior Podcast. We will reach out to you. We will respond. We will give you the information and the help that you need. We will be posting more on this topic through our social media. And we hope that this episode helps a lot of people that may be needing it, a lot of young ladies, a lot of moms, a lot of dads.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like our podcast here is not just for women, it's for men too. You
Yes.
know, if you have a daughter, if you have a wife, and if you feel like you want to be the support that your partner needs, that your wife needs, that your daughter needs, your cousin, your mother, anybody, like, we welcome you to tune in. Come and hear the stories that women have to share, their journey, their obstacles. Come to understand why women have a hard time with certain things.
Yes.
You know, thank you for tuning in. And I hope that today was beneficial, not just for women, but for men as well.
Yes.
And we can't wait to have you over again. We can have another topic.
Yes.
But again, thank you. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.